I'm Stephan, I'm from Berlin, and as many of you know, we traveled to Toronto. It's a really exciting city. The mood is good. Yesterday I saw the Blue Jay fans having fun and celebrating. I have friends, I worked in California for a while, I have friends there, and that was a really big deal for the city. So it's a great conference. It's a very special conference. It's a very special group here because it's publishers and media makers from the magazine media and just the media industry from around the globe. And there's not many associations, organizations make those things happen. I think it's worth to give a round of applause for the FIPP team and Chris, because I think they do a tremendous job to get us together to exchange thoughts and ideas. And I learned yesterday, to keep this going, that the attention span people have for each other and for our media and for our products went down from 22 seconds a decade ago to 8 seconds. Joe Ripp said that yesterday morning in his keynote. So hopefully we will have more than 8 seconds of your attention span, and that's what we're going to fighting for, and that's what publishers do. What we do, we fight for the most important things people have is time. So we fight for the time of the audience, and of course we fight for the budget of our advertisers. And how B2B companies do that and how they do it in the times of change, we're going to discuss now with a great panel. I'm really happy that we are able almost to represent not the whole globe, but 4 continents. So we have first up to stage Mike Friedenberg, the CEO of IDG International, global publisher. He's been in the information technology industry for more than 20 years, and that's where the shift started. The information technology guys were the first got really hit by the technology revolution, and Mike is doing this with his company on a global scale. They went from a print-only company to a web-centric company to a mobile-first company, and he's going to tell us today what they do in the next decade to stay relevant in more than 80 countries. Second up on stage, we have Yuko Tanaka. She's from Japan. She lives 5 years in Canada and Toronto. And if you want to do business with Nikkei worldwide and on a global scale, you need to talk to her. She's a business developer of Nikkei Corporation Japan. And so we have Asia. And last but not least, we have Marcelo Burman. He's the founder and CEO of Grupo, Cerca. He's based in Central America. He's headquartered in Costa Rica in 7 countries, and he knows the market in Middle and Central and South America very well. So welcome. We have still 27 minutes and 30 seconds, so the clock is ticking, red numbers, and we are well monitored. So let's kick it off. And Joe Ripp said yesterday that things are changing. Of course, we all know that. And we saw the movie this morning. It was disruption, disruption, disruption. So everyone knows this issue, but the question is more, what can we do? And everyone talks about change. So my first question to the panel, also to warm up, is what has really changed in the last decade and what still stays the same? Because some things may be different, but some fundamentals may be the same. So I would pose the first question. Mike, if you would like, give a shot.
Sure, thank you, Stephan. I think in media, relevance, trust, and community have held consistent throughout the years. So I think those are consistent attributes that we're all trying to serve both our readers as well as our advertisers. What has changed is quite dramatic. I think you look at scale and how you define scale on a global level. It used to be physical scale, now it's virtual scale. You look at how you aggregate audiences, and that's gone from brands to really audiences. You look at your sales organizations, and it used to be direct sales. Now it's a mixture of direct sales and programmatic sales. So I think all of those elements together continue to create a pretty ripe environment for a lot of change in our industry.
Tanaka, as a manager, what has changed for you, and what is still the same when you look at your career in our industry?
Yes, so many things have actually changed in this past decade that it's very difficult to identify one thing that really hasn't changed. But if I was to name one, it would be like anybody else must have been saying, it's our mission and our dedication to keep delivering the highest quality content across all thinkable platforms or vehicles or whatever. And something that has changed is, for example, at Nikkei BP, our revenue structure has changed, that's for one thing, and we are less and less dependent on advertising revenues. A decade ago, we used to depend 60% of our revenue on advertising, which has now gone down to 40%. 35% 10 years ago on circulation sales revenues, which has now gone up to 50%, and from 5% to 10% for event-related revenues. And just in comparing, that's the comparison between now and a decade ago, but comparing just from last year, we've lost $4 million worth of advertising revenue, while gaining $4 million worth of circulation sales revenues, and another $4 million worth of events revenue.
All right.
So our the breakdown of our revenue has changed dramatically.
All right. Marcelo, sometimes I feel publishers, I started my career as an editor, we did a monthly magazine, and that's it. And there was like, you know, these guys with the sticks and the plate, like rotating it, and I think it was one stick and one plate. And nowadays, I think managers and everyone in the industry, we have like 20 sticks and plates, and you always see the one just being sure will fall down. So how do you see the situation when you look at your career?
Thank you, Stephan. But let me ask you something before. Who of this audience, please raise your hand if you run a small company or run a company in a small market. Okay, I have the same problems like you. Short audiences, no critical mass, and small wallets. With those problems, we're still doing the same. In B2B, we grew. This year, we grew. Our growth was in 2 digits, different than on our B2C magazines. So what I think is that we must maintain in our core. Our core, what is the same, is that we connect buyers and sellers. No matter the platform, no matter the market in which we are, it doesn't matter if it's a big market or a small market. We connect buyers and sellers. And this is what we're still doing for the next years.
Yeah, when I look at the global market, and we are an association, we are based in Germany, but we do a lot of European business, and we do a lot of political lobbying also in Brussels. And when I talk to my members, and it's really interesting around the globe, that B2B publishers are very stable, they are really adaptable, they grow pretty quickly. And when I was listening to the keynote of Joe Ripp, he spoke basically like a B2B publisher, because he was talking about print, web, mobile, and said it's all about data. We need to do conferences. We need to connect on so many levels. So I think the B2B industry is a good poster child for things we can do with the audience to connect, as Marcelo said, buyers and sellers. So publishers in the past put a ton of resources against editorial to create content, ton of resources against like one of the most important revenue streams, sales. Times have changed, as we heard, and everyone feels this. So how will this change and shift of the business models and the data-driven competitors we have also change the structure of our companies, the way we operate? Marcelo, will you give it a shot?
Well, we need to hire new capabilities to our companies because the business is in change. But at least in Central America, I came from small countries, emerging countries. We are still growing in print. We will launch new magazine in print. As I always said, our revenues from digital side, it's like the limit theory that we studied in math, always trends to zero. So we think those new capabilities will have results in a couple of years, but not now. We still have to do more print, more live events, and those will be our revenue streams.
Mike, IDG was always driving massive change, and I remember an article in the New York Times where Pat McGovern was quoted, the founder of IDG, that they were the first true international company walking and turning the company to a web-centric model. So what is on your list when you talk about structure what things are you looking at, and when you talk about platform businesses and run a global company, but still in local markets?
Yeah, you're right. IDG's in 97 countries, and 9 years ago, we made that cross of chasm of where our digital gains surpassed our print declines. So I think the next challenge right now is how we look at the web. It's moving from conventional web strategy to a mobile, social, data-driven web. And I think that's the next challenge that all of us as media companies have to deal with, is that we are now trying to figure out, I personally think, where digital display is the new print. I think it will be a pressured marketplace based on CPMs and programmatic and data. So how are these alternative revenue streams going to really carry us forward as we really do prepare for a mobile, social, data-driven web strategy?
And just to add on that, so you need a different set of mindset and of people and also culture.
Yeah, culture is absolutely important. I mean, I think we talked a lot about this yesterday with people up on stage. I truly do believe that culture is more important and talent is more important than strategy. And not only leveraging the resources and the talent that you have existing within your company, but then, as Marcelo said, just bringing on the new talent that is necessary to really leap forward ahead. And that primarily is focused in data, research, analytics, reporting. These are all new talent sets that I think most media companies are really trying to bring that talent on board right now.
So Tanaka, talking about editorial, and we talk so much about content. So what is your view on the role of editorial now and in the next couple of years? So how do you look at your content team and content creators on all platforms?
Right. And in the good old days, the editorial guys just worried about their editorial work. Ad sales guys just sold their ads, and circulation sales guys just went out and sold subscriptions. So that was the good old days, and they all minded their own business and not really caring about what the others did. But nowadays, it's becoming more and more of a teamwork, where editors will also have to contribute to production of a project. For example, when we do an event, they have to be involved in planning the event, because they're the guys who know what the industry guys are really looking for at this time.
Marcelo, when you look at your team structure, what has changed, and what type of people you like to attract? Because we need these jugglers to be able to have not one plate but maybe 20.
It's what she said. We need people to look the complete scenario, to look the complete market. It's not just editorial team, not just technology team. They have to change their mindset and look at the complete picture. What I think, and I'm asking myself every day, today and yesterday we've heard about mobile first, digital first, or digital first, mobile first then. I think if this is not the wrong answer, the wrong question, why don't we think audience first? And if we think audience first, it doesn't matter the platform, it doesn't matter when, where, and the frequency we give them the information, when, where we connect people. It's think on them. I think we need those kind of people that think always on the audience, no matter if it's in print, in live, or in digital.
So we have, as publishers, we have two revenue streams from the readers and from the advertisers. So in Germany, for example, in consumer business, people spend per year 3 billion euros for buying subscriptions and buying things on the newsstand, magazines. I would like to pose a question to the audience. Who makes, and please raise your hand, when you make more money with reader revenue than with advertising? Who makes more money with reader revenue than advertising? Okay, that's maybe 3.5%. So all the rest makes more money with advertising still. So Pat McGovern, again, moving a company from digital in his team to digital, always said reader revenue, but it's more, because it's more stable, the cycles of markets hit advertising first, but still the industry is so close, of course, to advertising revenues for our profitability. So my question is to Mike, how are you able in this competitive landscape? We compete against so many channels, against companies who are able to scale globally. What is the real value we bring as B2B publishers? How close can we really gain to bring buyers and sellers together? Can we get to that point where we have leads which turn into sales and we maybe even participate in the sales?
Yeah, I think that is truly the future of B2B media. When you think about how 5 companies make up 90% of all digital revenue in the world, right? So, Google, Facebook, Yahoo, MSN, and I believe AOL, we're all left fighting for those incremental dollars. And I personally think, being hyper vertical, hyper niche is our answer to that. So in B2B, our ability to have that direct connectivity between buyer and seller is absolutely essential. And where it's moving towards is us getting into a world of basically predicting or intent media. I think that's going to be a word that you hear more and more about over the next 12 months, where your ability to predict buying behavior within accounts and the people that are driving that buying and purchasing decision, it's going to be our job to help companies identify that purchasing behavior immediately. And thankfully, IDG is doing that right now.
So how important, Tanaka, how important is technology for your company? So I worked for a while in San Francisco, and on my first meeting with the editorial team, I said, developers are as important as editors because they help you to get the content out. And being an editor, it was kind of a little revolution. But so how do you see technology? How do you invest in technology, and how important is it for the future?
Technology is definitely important in these days, and I can't agree more with what the two of you have just said. We try to secure our technology talent in a variety of ways. We hire them directly, we train our people, and we outsource the technology work. So it's a combination work in us securing the required technology talent.
So Marcelo, when you could elaborate a little bit more, how do you help your clients understand how much value you create for them?
I'm sorry again.
How do you help your clients to understand how much value you create when you in your sales process? Because selling a 4-color ad is just not doing it anymore.
Of course, this is our most important goal for the next year: how to help our sellers, our representatives, to help our clients, our advertiser or sponsors, to realize how we can help them. I think this is the most important goal in B2B, because they always sold just pages, and now we sold a service. This change of the mind is the most important goal we will have for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I really think that the art and science of media is truly now balanced, and it goes back to performance and engagement, right? So we're being pressed to make sure that we provide deeper engagement and higher performance. So it falls on us to make sure that we're able to report that. And issues like viewability, for instance, that is something there in the United States. We have a threshold right now of 70% viewability, but I guarantee by fiscal or calendar year 16, the threshold will be 100% viewability. So how do we invest properly in the right technology and the right reporting to make sure that we're delivering on that? And I think that's going to be a worldwide issue very, very soon, where there won't be this interim bar, Stephan, right? Like yes. Right now we're at 70%. I think everybody's going to pretty much demand 100% by fiscal year 16. So are you putting in the right systems and technology to be able to deliver on that? It's going to be essential.
Question to the audience, and I will turn it around. Everyone talks about mobile. Mobile first, small screen. Everyone is probably always doing a conference. At least 20% of the audience is looking to the phones and, of course, tweeting about the panel. So who in this audience is really happy with his mobile revenues? Amazing. Not one hand. Someone from Facebook here? If you would talk to Facebook, they figured it out. And that's probably the only company who's really able to make a boatload of money with mobile. And what we see with when you measure your traffic, So for example, in Germany, the major sites, all of them are already 30, 40%. My prediction is in 2 to 3 years, 60 to 70% will be mobile. Because smartphones are big enough, you can read and consume content. Here, the editor-in-chief of Quartz said they are producing for mobile and pieces. People read long pieces on mobile. So Japan is a very mobile country. You have big companies like NTT Docomo and those guys. You communicate a lot, you commute a lot, so everyone has a smartphone or a manga book, but most of them have smartphones nowadays. So we are in the mobile decade, definitely in terms of readership. Revenues are still minuscule. So how do you use at Nikkei mobile to drive your business, stay relevant?
I don't necessarily agree that mobile revenues are minuscule. It's not big, but I wouldn't agree that it's minuscule because as a Nikkei group company, our parent company has this really great paid model, which charges $40 per month to subscribe to the digital edition, which people can read on their mobile, on their tablets. And they have already acquired 420,000 subscribers. So $40 a month per year multiplied by 12, multiplied by 420,000, that's not quite minuscule. So
almost 180 million.
It's a lot of money. And we're seeing that there are more and more people who are subscribing only to the digital edition of the product that they provide, especially among the younger generation and especially among the female readership. And we're trying, I was talking about my parent company, so we're trying, at Nikkei BP2, we're trying to follow the footsteps of what our parent company has been doing, and we have been offering a service called Nikkei Business Digital, which is a brand extension of our General Business Weekly magazine, and we have already acquired 35,000 paid users of this service, which accounts for about 15% of all of our subscribers, so it's not bad.
So that's reader revenue. So it seems to be something there. So Marcelo, what are you doing with mobile? How important is it?
Nothing.
Okay,
Central America is the opposite of Japan. People is not as involved in mobile digitalization as we need.
So maybe
nothing.
So maybe you should join. We do with our VDZ members a tour in November to Japan.
Maybe.
So maybe you should join because
of course.
it's good to be a little bit ahead of it. But that's interesting. So Mike, I know reader revenue in the US is maybe a big topic for the New York Times. But how, as a B2B publishers, do you, because your audience is very mobile, all the business guys carry their phones all the time. So how do you implement mobile in your strategy?
Well, mobile, we sort of break apart into two areas, right? We have the mobile web and then you have the native environment. And I think we're doing a really nice job of monetizing the mobile web side, where we have room for improvement is on the native side and the app side. And I think that is something that you still have to try to figure out what are those mobile moments that your readers want to really engage and reward you for. And that's how you then begin to build an app. I think right now, historically, most B2B media has gone to say, hey, we have this content, we believe this is what our readers want, thus we're just gonna force it into an app, and I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to look at it. I also believe, though, that what you're gonna see over time is, in the B2B side, we're having very good success of putting up a paywall, but not asking people to pay, but asking to register, because if they put their information through a reg page, I know that I personally can monetize that information. So to me, a filled out reg page is the equivalent of them swiping a credit card into our system. So if we can leverage the mobile web to drive database, then I know in the back end I can monetize that name through our demand gen capabilities.
Yeah. So basically also it's about, at the end it's about the qualification of the customer.
That's right.
To have as many touch points to the customer. And it's interesting, we have in Europe two big publishing companies, Springer and Schibsted in Norway, Springer in Germany, and they try to build databases like B2B publishers where they connect as many touch points as you can to a name, from credit card to buying intent, et cetera. Lock them in. Right? Because it's not, paying means not always money, could also be, get the name in your database. So where B2B publishers are really, really strong is building communities in verticals. And then conferences, special offerings. So we have new competitors. We have companies like, again, we have companies like, we talk a lot about social. Social, of course, Twitter and Facebook and those type of things, but social is out creating a conference, meeting people. That's like the true social paid content business for B2B publishers. So how do you see and how you integrate companies like LinkedIn who build very strong communities, and they could also probably do sooner or later conferences? Which role plays social in your strategy? How do you monitor, how do you use this to create more business, Marcelo?
We are starting to create a community, membership communities with paid membership. Instead of LinkedIn that is free, and there are a lot of people and nobody talks about nothing. If we, in Central America, we can join all the people in the same market, we can do real communities. I think we are, at least in small countries, and far from the bigger ones, we can do it better than those players.
Yeah. All right. Tanaka, how is it in Japan? What roles play social communities and social media?
As journalists, we have sort of stayed away from social media for quite a while, but recently we started more and more trying to make more use of social media in delivering our content. And we're also trying to use the power of social media in us getting registration information, just like Michael said. We're trying to get more profiles from our readers by using social media, especially from the younger generation, because that's their tool. And so far, we only get maybe about 7%, 8% of our page views via social media. But we intend to increase the number in the future.
So, Mike, how do you can you use LinkedIn and the like to drive your own business, or do they use you?
No, I mean, it's a shared partnership. Actually, one of our brands, CIO, we were the very first media brand, I think, in B2B space. I think, but at that time it was Business Week was the very first brand, Bloomberg Business Week. But we were the first B2B brand to partner with LinkedIn in creating a group, a forum. So we've built a CIO forum on the LinkedIn platform that now has over 80,000 CIOs worldwide, and we leverage that as a panel to drive research and to also incrementally drive revenue back to IDG and the CIO brand. So LinkedIn, I mean, I look at them as obviously a new competitor, just as I look at like Xaxis as a new competitor. But I think that platform is way too powerful to ignore and not to leverage in some capacity.
All right. So we have a couple of minutes left, and as managers and decision makers, and we have a lot of people here dealing always with having we have 30 plates and juggling them. What are the big points you definitely want to make next year? So when you say I have 20 plates, but I can't let this go. This is too important. So Marcelo, maybe you start. What is your big points, your big goals for the next?
For the next year, we have 3 goals. First one, we will go deeply in our approach on monetizing this audience. At this time, we just monetize advertisers. So we want to monetize the audience. And we are starting some revenue streams, and we hope with a lot of success. The second one is that we will launch new titles. We believe in print, we believe in B2B, and we believe in niche markets. So we will start new magazines next year. The third one, we will do our first steps going deeply in our digitalization in a region that we will not monetize it at least in 2016. And the most important goal, we will still learning from them, from this kind of Congress, from the big companies, how they do all those, what we will do in the next years.
Mike, despite getting IDG in more than 100 countries, what are your big points for the next?
Yeah, it's really comes down to one word, it's growth. You'll find this is an amazing statistic. Only 30% of all businesses in the world in 2014 grew revenue $1 or more, only 30%. So that is our challenge as an industry. How do we grow? How do we grow revenue? So we're going to grow audiences, we're going to grow our technology capabilities, we're going to grow our data capabilities, we're certainly going to grow our talent pool, and hopefully that will allow us to grow revenue.
Tanaka.
Okay, I also
You
have
have the
three
last.
goals.
Yeah.
One is to continue launching new media, new magazines actually. Although despite the maturity market that we have in Japan. Second is that we will go global. We have invested in a Turkish media company last year. We have invested this year in an Indian company, and that kind of an acquisition or an investment on a global basis will continue in 2016. And finally, we will build up our ability to offer consulted solutions to our advertisers, to our clients, through our research institutes.
Excellent. So thanks so much. We are right on time. Thanks for your time. Thanks for preparation, and keep on doing the great job for our industry. And even more thanks for your time that we were able to stay relevant for you for half an hour. Enjoy the conference, and thanks again to FIPP for making this all happen. Thank you.